Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So this is Nausheen Ashraf. As for me, I run a data center consulting company. I've been in IT industry for the past many, many years. I would not like to mention because a lot of people can guess my age. I am here with our very young panelists, and I'm very excited about it. So today we have with us Anam Rafiq. So Anam Rafiq is the founder and CEO of Site. It's Pakistan's first AI ethics consultancy that bridges AI innovation with societal needs, advising healthcare, government, and education on governance, literacy, and workforce frameworks. Welcome, Anam.
Thank you.
So next to Anam, we have Abdullah Rafique. Abdullah Rafique is the co-founder and CTO of Viro, builds the AI ML content creation platform from his NUST undergrad days, inspired by a Google Singapore internship, scaling to 150 million global downloads, $20 million ARR, and adoption by 75% of Fortune 500 via Imagine Art. He exemplifies startup success. And next to Abdullah, thank you, Abdullah, for joining us.
Thank you.
Next to Abdullah, we have Yahya Qureshi. Yahya Qureshi leads Cursor Pakistan, rapidly building the country's most active developer ecosystem through tech, community, and mentorship for founders. So the topic of today for our panel is the AI paradox, ethics, benefits, and opportunities. And this topic particularly is very close to my heart because much before AI came into the picture, in my generation, when we started work, obviously there was no AI, and we had to put different kind of efforts in work. From the very beginning, the initial part of my life and career, I realized that a lot of times we focus too much on stakeholders, profit margins, generating more revenue, working on the bottom line and the top line. However, in the process, during the process, what we tend to ignore a lot of times when we are in the race, that things that we do have to be morally aligned. Because at the end of the day, integrity is sustainable and growth can be temporary. So I'm very excited to have these young people with me today. My first question is from Anam. So Anam runs a consultancy firm, and she helps government and other different healthcare educational institutes. So my question is very much related to the sector. So Anam, what impact do you see AI is having on traditional jobs in Pakistan, and what measures should be taken to help the workforce adopt to AI-driven changes? Because we see everybody is talking about AI, and I think every organization has this fear that they don't want to be behind in the race. So how do you look at it?
So at the outset, I do want to mention that I align with AI conservatives. So I do think that the impact on jobs isn't as drastic as it's being portrayed. So far, AI can do granular tasks like emails and simple coding and info retrieval, etc. But it can't really do an end-to-end job. Take, for example, AI agents. So right now, a recent study came out of UC Berkeley, which showed that the majority of AI agents on the market right now are not autonomous, and they also need heavy human oversight to verify all major decisions. So we can see that there's a big gap between emulating human skills and actually replacing human capability. So the co-founder of OpenAI, Elia Skatsgiver, his recent company is called Safe Superintelligence. It's really cool, people should look it up. He has this framework, which I also agree with. Basically, he says that the current AI models, they mimic reasoning patterns without really understanding causality. So this causes what we call jaggedness. So basically what happens is that like a model can pass a bar exam, but it will get confused by the amount of R's in strawberry. So when we ask, will AI take jobs, the answer is nuanced because it is already displacing some tasks, like administrative ones, but replacing roles that require judgment, adaptation, and like end-to-end thinking, we're not really there yet. But like for like measures of helping the task force, I think to adapt, I think that the approach isn't to pretend like AI doesn't exist. I think it's important to teach people how to work alongside it. I think that we have to teach people like what it can and can't do, where it hallucinates. So we need to keep critical thinking intact and like use it as a tool. Which brings me to the point that I think about the most, honestly, and it's actually not job displacement, it's the dependency. So basically, regular AI use, it atrophies critical thinking. So we're outsourcing cognition, and the long-term cognitive impact is being completely ignored, while we're only celebrating the efficiency gains. So for me personally, the question isn't just, is AI taking all our jobs? It's also, what kind of humans are we creating in the process? So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Anam. It was, I think it was very, very, I would say I feel very pleased to hear that what everybody else thinks and all the fears that AI is a monster. Having somebody young on the panel who thinks that it is actually a monster and cannot be a monster for human beings because it is not going to entirely replace us, human beings. So, while you said that you have, you're still a little skeptical that how much we are investing in AI globally is not going to pay off and the return on investment is not going to be that high. I would second that because we are already seeing the results. So we saw the dot-com burst, and then I would just give an example which is not entirely related to technology, that, initially it was all about mass production, and then we went back to organic lives. So I think this is also a periodic shift. We will see the hype, and then we will probably see the dip as well. So now I'm moving on to Abdullah Rafique. So Abdullah, your organization is very interesting, and I feel your organization is a threat to a lot of human beings because if you talk about Viro, they help you learn what actually human beings do very slow. The process is very slow, and you actually try and help people expedite the process. And I was reading up on an article where it said that a very fast-paced human being coder can type maximum 80 to 100 words per minute. And if you talk about an AI-driven coder, it can be 30% faster than the human being. So my 15-year-old son who brags at home that I don't want to learn computer science because, Mama, all the computer science engineers are just begging on the road for jobs in California, may be right. So Abdullah, my question to you is that what challenges do you see? So I understand that what you do is that you help content developers to improvise their content.
Yeah.
So I feel you have a lot of data.
Yeah.
So with all that data, I want you to be 100% honest that how do you address the issues of data privacy? Because obviously you're not one person, you have an organization. And how do you, your own perspective and on algorithm and how does your company handle the ethical part of it, the data privacy and etc.?
Sure. So in very short, right, what ImagineArt does is it lets creatives create content like approximately 10x or 15x faster than maybe the previous means of maybe the way using Adobe software, right? And like we have taken a different approach, right, where you can use all the models and you can potentially do what a designer used to do. Our goal always has been like how we can create tools that help designers and creative teams move faster, right? And I think that's why we're pretty much praised in the industry because we're not trying to replace designers. We're trying to expedite their processes, right? Like the time they should be spending on in creativity, we give them that time, and we take a lot of pain away from repetitive tasks that used to, used to do on Photoshop and other softwares. Coming to the main question, I think we take data pretty seriously, right? But the problem with AI space is that you're working with so many model providers, and some of them are from US, some of them are from China. I think these are two major markets, right? So the way we do it for enterprises is we have a lot of our own models, right? So Imagine Art was ranked number 3 in the entire world, right? So we're very working hard to make sure that we give our customers models from our side, which we are hosting on our own data centers, which we can guarantee 100% privacy, right? But all the model providers we work with, they make sure that the data that users are passing on to them are not trained via API, right? So we're pretty covered in that case. Other than that, I think when you're sort of an application layer, we're not usually using users' data for training and training the models in any way where your concepts or something you're working on can be, feed into the model. So, yep, I think that has always been our case. We never use any of the users' data for anything that we want to do so. And yeah, I think that's how we try to be really, because again, we're being used by a lot of big companies, right? So we have to be pretty, straightforward in that. Yeah.
Thank you. And I'm glad to know that you think that the data is 100% private and you're not going to use it or sell it in the future. But as things unfold in their own liberty, I wish you well.
Yeah.
So my next question is from Yahya Qureshi. So Yahya, which in all the Pakistani industries that we have, and we talk about social development and we talk about economic growth, which industries do you think are the most promising industries when it comes to AI-driven economic growth, and how can startups particularly capitalize on these opportunities?
Okay, I really think one of the most non-obvious answers, because everyone starts from stuff which already exists and is very manual: agriculture, healthcare, so much more, right? Management. But even the IT industry that Pakistan has right now has tons and tons of rooms of improvement, right? There's many companies in Pakistan, many big names making multi-million dollars in revenue, but they've done that with thousands of employees, right? And the trend that we're seeing in places like Silicon Valley is that same revenue, even more in billions, is being made by people with team sizes of 10, 20, 50, 100. And that's just because of how AI and tools like Cursor have completely changed the game, right? And how it allows every programmer to have a pair programmer on the side which can assist them in however they imagine, right? And other than tech, other than following Y Combinator's mantra of doing things that do not scale, well, yeah, agriculture, management, everything that works on the city level, there's a ton of room for automation in that, a ton of room for giving the people working on it a lot more power to build more effective solutions. You study something for 4 years, you study a specific skill set, right? To be able to dive into something new, you need to read documentation. You need to study about it for weeks, if not months. But with AI, that becomes a weekend project. You could have a minimum viable product, your proof of concept ready very, very quickly, and you are able to improve all the industries which we just talked about very fast. So, yeah.
Thank you, Yahya. And I think what you said correlates to what Anam initially said, that at the end of the day, it is the human being who has to be sitting behind the screen.
Yeah.
And he is the one who has to add value. So AI is not going to do something which, for any industry particularly, other than the coders. So it is not going to create something completely new, but going to polish and improvise as to what the human being sitting on the other side of the screen is capable of doing.
Absolutely.
So I will come back to Anam now. And Anam, I will go back to my previous initial statement of integrating ethics and morality and integrity into the system. What I feel that if when we interview people or when we hire people, our first and foremost important thing that we look for in a person is integrity, even to date. So if you ask my personal opinion, I still put technical skills on the back burner, and for me, integrity is the first. And like the panel the guy who was sitting before us also mentioned that the gentleman that the first thing you need to build is reputation. So how do you think that you can help government to make policies or frameworks to ensure that whatever AI we use in the country, in any industry, has some form of legal concept or law or ruling or framework behind it? How do you think the government has the capacity to influence the industry?
I think that your question requires a two-pronged answer, because before we can talk frameworks, we need to understand what's actually creating the opportunity in the AI space. So at the outset, we need to understand that the cost of AI is coming down very rapidly. So unlike large language models, small language models require less compute, and they are exponentially cheaper. So you have new technologies like wafer scaling, Cerebrus, for example. They are delivering capabilities at a fraction of OpenAI's cost. So when these costs drop, the access to AI becomes it's there for a much wider range of businesses and use cases. So then the question is that who is this opportunity available to? And I think maybe that my opinion might be a bit contrarian in this room full of startup optimism, but I think that the age of scaling AI is over. Like when you throw more data at it and you compute, like that phase has hit its endpoint. So models are starting to cannibalize themselves, because when they're training on AI-generated data, which has flooded the internet, that degrades the quality. So this is really important for Pakistan, because the economic opportunity isn't to build the next foundation model. That ship has sailed, and it requires like billions in compute. So I think that when we're talking about building frameworks, it needs to be also a two-pronged answer, like on an entrepreneurial side, what would the framework would look like, and then on the governance end. So I think that on the entrepreneurial side, I think that Pakistan, I feel very strongly about this, that Pakistan needs to become the specialized integration layer. Basically, it's what I call the space in between. You take generalized models and enterprise-specific applications, and you're taking what exists and making it work for specific contexts and industries. And also, we discussed this earlier, I really do want to mention this on the panel, that an MIT study showed that 95% of all AI enterprise implementations have zero ROI. So the only ones which are actually making money are the ones who partner with specialized vendors, and I think that Pakistan could really own this space. So I think that's one where our entrepreneurial framework needs to be. And I think that on the policy side, we need governance infrastructure. So right now, everyone's racing to build capabilities, but nobody's building verification systems, compliance frameworks, and safety standards. So I really believe that Pakistan could actually lead here. We could build the regulatory clarity that makes us a trusted partner for international standards. And also, honestly, I think that somebody needs to be thinking about AI literacy at scale, because not just the tech workers, for teachers, for government officials, and like for the general public, but I think that's infrastructure as well. So yeah, that's what my thoughts are on the subject.
Right. So in a nutshell, do you think that the government is ready right now to work on those policies and governance?
Yes and no, because I feel like if we're not building foundation models and things which you need to throw so much money at, it is very doable.
Right.
Especially when the entrepreneurial frameworks are collaborating with the policy frameworks. Why can't we do it? We become the specialized layer. It's so doable.
right? And I really hope that Pakistan takes advantage of its youth and the kind of people who are sitting here in the room to build better future. So my next question is from Abdullah. Abdullah, how do you see AI innovation balancing between rapid growth and social responsibility in Pakistan's diverse market? Because we have to consider our literacy rate in the country. And while we sit in the drawing rooms and talk fancy about AI, I think we need to be realistic as well, that what actually is happening on the ground. So yes, please.
So the question is, how do we balance between growth and social responsibility,
Yes.
right? I'm not sure on the, maybe, on the country level, the implications, but I think how AI is actually helping potentially everyone become super versions of themselves, right? Like the future is all about generalists and super product managers, super designers and all, right? I think it's already making the life of a lot of other people much better, right? So much before Cursor, right, someone who didn't know about software or front end or something, right, like they can make something from scratch, right? And if you see Lovable, right, children's of small ages, all the creativity they have, they can potentially do something very practical with it, right? So, and now with ChatGPT at everyone's hand, like students don't need to go to, all the books and everything just to ask a simple question, right? Or maybe to their professors. I think AI is actually helping tons of people. And it's not just helping individuals, it's helping industries move much faster, right? At the rate that I don't think which was quite possible before. So definitely there are a lot of things that come with it, but whenever there is an industrial revolution, right, everyone has to upskill themselves, right? So when Adobe Photoshop came in, right, everything was being done manually, right? And there was a very big rage on that, like if there's a software that people would use to create artwork, right, what would happen to people who used to paint, right? So whenever an industrial revolution comes, people have to upskill themselves, and AI is no different. Like it's the same thing as maybe when SaaS came in or the softwares came in, right? It's just a different way. It's potentially much faster. So I do think with growth happening, it will be up to everyone in professional side to upskill themselves. And I think on the individual level, when it comes to normal consumers, everyone is already benefiting a lot, right? If you see active users of Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude, right, you'll see the usage is coming from the world, right? It's not just developers who are using it, it's everywhere. And the reason with ChatGPT and Claude are offering much subsidized rates in India, Pakistan sort of regions, right, is because they're seeing massive usage across not just industries but individual consumers, starting from very early age to professionals, or maybe people in elderly ages as well, right? So I think it is the new form, and it's actually helping people. The other side is, I think it's actually on the other side, the replacement and everything. But I think it's doing pretty well on the social front, right? And it's not in the hands of just few people; it's in the hands of everyone, right? And with open source and all of those models getting so cheap, you can even run an LLM on your Android or iOS phone, right? So I think it's going in a pretty good direction as far as I can see.
Thank you. So based on what Abdullah said, I have a question to you. So as per Abdullah, the situation is rosy, and the perspective that now anyone can probably become a millionaire overnight, and everybody has the access, and people do not have much justification to stay behind in life. My question to you is that without giving people literacy, how do you empower them with something they are not entirely aware of?
Okay, yeah, that's we don't. That's the answer about it. We do give them literacy. We give them a very basic overview of how AI is supposed to work, how you are supposed to treat it as a co-pilot, not as the pilot, expecting it to do everything for you, and that's just copy-pasting everything. We have to tell them how to use it properly that way, right? Because otherwise, one of the reasons why this opinion is so popular that vibe coding or using any AI tools won't get you anywhere is because the people who believe in that, they just try to copy paste stuff or like use it as at a very, very surface level thing, right? Even then, like if I try to connect, one of the reasons why AI adoption is so tricky in Pakistan, right? Having seen many, many companies myself, there's two types of companies. One who use AI for optics, like, oh wow, we're an AI first company. And the second group is people who, like Abdullah, who are like just really happy with the extreme hard work they're putting in and how AI is supporting it, right? So I've had many conversations with company owners who are like, do you use AI in your company? Are you an AI first company? And they're like, हाँ हम AI use करते हैं, हम ChatGPT use करते हैं, DeepSeek use करते हैं. तो ठीक है, बेहतरीन है. And then the second group, which actually knows how to leverage that power, right? You see the spark in their eyes, like, oh my God, Cursor, Lovable, Replit, these tools have allowed me to make prototypes. These tools have allowed hundreds of my engineers to scale and make amazing products much, much faster. जो काम आपका महीनों में हो रहा था, वो weeks or days में होने लग गया. So you get to see the spark in their eyes, and that really, really explains why companies like trillion-dollar companies like NVIDIA, OpenAI, why are they onboarded on Cursor? Why are they using Cursor? They're using it because of that reasons and the power it carries. So yeah.
Right. So excellent conversation. Now, because we are just, I think we've only 4 minutes are left. So I have two questions, which any one of you can pick and answer. My first question is, what collaborative steps can government, corporates, and startups take together to build a sustainable and ethically sound AI ecosystem in Pakistan? Please forgive me because I keep going back to ethics, that all these things have a very glorifying image and picture. And as you very rightly said, that people also want to be in the race, that we are using some part of AI. How do you think all these organizations, startups, corporates, government, can help each other make it sustainable ethically? Do you want to take it, Anam?
Sure. So I think that I answered this question like on some level in my previous answer. So I think I'll be a little provocative. I think the gap is that, as I mentioned before, that we need to build the governance and safety infrastructure that everyone else is ignoring. You and I discussed this before, like deepfake detection, AI literacy programs. I think that someone needs to build the brakes and not just the accelerator.
But Anam, tell me something. So in my opinion, it takes a while to build reputation.
Yes.
So while you mentioned that we can actually become a part of a global policy, or we can help overall globally people to have a framework for AI or the use of AI, don't you think that it's a bit early in the day for us, a country like Pakistan, to have that kind of reputation?
I really don't think so, because in the AI space, Pakistan is quite a decent player right now. We have international companies that are doing data consolidation and agent orchestration and framework development and stuff. So they're basically the plumbers for Western AI companies. But on another level, you also have product companies like Wei Industries. They're building proprietary AI solutions, and they're selling them internationally. So they're not just being hired, so they're also selling the IP. So I feel like if we can do all of this, it's not that big of a leap to also become the gold standard in AI safety.
Right. Okay, makes sense. And I think it's a very positive thing for us to have this feeling. So my last question is, how can AI be effectively leveraged to address Pakistan's social and developmental challenges, such as healthcare, agriculture, or disaster management?
Okay, awesome. Okay,
Please,
I'll take
go
that.
ahead.
One of the most important things I see, which has ruined the entire game in many, many countries, right, is chasing trends and chasing hype. Oh, blockchain aa raha hai, isko laga lete hai, ye kar lete hai, wo kar lete hai. I think it would be great if on a government level, or even, as you mentioned, literacy, right? Literacy is so important. telling people about how AI allows you to solve problems at the very basic level, to the point के audience में बराबर वाले बंदे के लिए कोई आप problem solve कर सकते, you could make a solution for that, right? That's really important to tell के use these tools to your advantage to build solutions instead of like अच्छा Meta का ये new tool आया है, इनके साथ collaboration करके हम ये training करते हैं, हम blockchain को involve करते हैं. Don't chase buzzwords, try to chase the actual point that के you can really build effective solutions for people. And yeah, I think the lack of that has made things pretty problematic. Everyone's chasing trends and buzzwords, but if the government would support something like that, you could see a very big shift in how, in places like Silicon Valley, there's 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds, even many young people building solutions that get thousands and thousands of users. We could see that in Pakistan as well if that's done.
So just to conclude, I think at the end of the day, whatever we do will have repercussions. And as long as our youth who's working with AI and the industries who are working with AI, they understand that there are consequences and people will have some kind of accountability, and it's not very far that they will be accountable, but it's just coming very soon. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.